Hello and welcome to Plot Twisters.
This is a podcast where we take movies and twist the plot to see if we can make them better, and if not, more final.
At the moment, we're talking about teen movies from the noughties.
On this episode, Final Destination from the year 2000.
I'm Anders, and I never thought anything could look worse than my yearbook photo.
I'm Emma. I'll see you soon.
Do we need to like check and make sure each other are okay after watching a scary movie? Are you
Quick
okay?
check in. I'm doing good. I watched this movie in broad daylight. I had my partner there. I have this really weird thing with scary movies where I get really weird about my feet. Like if my feet aren't covered or if they're hanging off the sofa. That's a problem for me. So I said to my partner, can you please protect my feet?
That's so good.
And I think it really speaks to the strength of our relationship that he was like, don't worry, I'm already there. It's all good.
That is real love. No questions asked.
Yeah,
I got you, boo. I cover your feet, boo.
So we had double blankets over the feet.
Great.
That's also because it's very cold in our house because we're refusing to turn on the heating. But most importantly, protected feet. But yeah, no, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I did find a few. I don't do super well with the freakies, you know, the scary ones. And I watched this movie alone last night in the dark, and I really just confronted my own sort of like fears and stuff. And on the whole, I felt fine, but it still was a little bit scary, and it hit me. But it hits different now that I'm a much older human than when I watched this movie before.
That's good. So that shows growth.
Yeah. Or the opposite of growth. What's the opposite of growth? Shrinkage?
Stalling.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
it just shows shrinking.
Final Destination. I'll give it a skim over in terms of the synopsis, because I'm sure we'll go into some specifics later on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's basically a horror movie with no villain, which is an interesting thing about it. There are a bunch of kids who are all they're all 17, I think, aren't they? They're all going on a school trip to Paris. They're about to get on the plane when we realise that something is kind of going on with the lead character, Alex, played by Devon Sawa from a previous film we've discussed, Idle Hands.
Idle Hands. I was so excited to see it. I was like, dang, I knew there was another movie that he was in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He basically starts panicking, and he says that he thinks that the plane is going to blow up. When he's on the plane, he has like a vision of what's going to happen, and we get to see that in all its explicit detail. He then says everyone needs to get off the plane. Plane's going to blow up. Through kind of choreography, it's like about 6 people, I think, all get off the plane because he starts a fight and they all get dragged off. We then see the plane take off and immediately blow up. This then essentially leads I was going to keep calling him Devon then, leads Alex to believe that there is a pattern in which people are meant to die based on the seating plan of where they were in the plane, because he discovers later that there was a specific course that the explosion followed, and it draws a little map between all of their seats, and he believes this is the order in which people are going to die. And he comes up with this theory because people do start dying in this order. They all die through kind of misfortune. Like there's no specific killer, and I would say a very key thing about each of these deaths is it's very much playing with your expectations. Like it's very much about you're going, what's going to do it? What's going to do it? What's it going to be? What's it going to be? And then it's intentionally like it will be something that you weren't expecting. And they start dying in the right order. Alex then believes that he is able to prevent this from happening by anticipating what it's going to be and essentially interrupting the process of this strange experience. And he can essentially get it to skip the order of deaths. And he is using his visions to kind of do this. He's also being investigated by the FBI, who are treating the whole thing as quite suspicious. We also have Clear Rivers, who is played by Ali Larter, who's from Legally Blonde, amongst other things. And she...
You've just helped me realize I didn't look at IMDb yet. That's what I know her from.
And she is kind of this sort of slightly spooky girl who is the first person to believe Alex. We then have the other kids who escaped the plane crash and their teacher, who all have kind of varying reactions to it, whether or not they think he's cursed or spooky, or they think they believe him. And as time goes on, they start to figure out that this order thing is actually happening. So panic begins to set in further and further and further. We do have 3 survivors at the end, which is Clear, Alex, and then this other guy, Carter. And they all go on a trip to Paris to sort of honour the experience of the people who died.
Which is crazy. No way they got back on the plane. Hey, should we go back to Paris? Let's go back to Paris.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But it's very clear that the rhythm is still going to get you, because it ends with one of them also then dying. So it's quite straightforward and simple, and I would say a big part of it is how these people die, and that is the first of many Final Destination movies.
Like 5 of them or something? Is that right? There's like 5 of them.
I think,
maybe more.
I feel like there might be even more. I think there's loads.
Which I've never seen.
There's Final Destination.
Have you ever seen any of the other ones?
No. It's Final Destination, Final Destination 2, Final Destination 3, Final Destination 4, Final Destination 5, and The Final Destination.
Oh,
and 6. There's 6 as well.
Come on.
Oh, so okay, maybe the final is 7.
Oh gosh.
There's at least 6, maybe 7. So
that's nuts. Hey man, I guess, when you don't have a villain other than the villain being accidental death / spooky. I mean, you say accident. Can we go right off the top and talk about the non-villain / villain of this movie?
We can.
Because I know that there wasn't a killer or whatever other than the pattern of death or something. Except, when that guy dies from strangling in the tub that time, and the water kind of seeps over the bathroom floor, makes him slip, and then once he's dead, it just slips away,
Yeah.
Is there an invisible murderer? Is that what this is? Is it a ghost?
Well, it's like it's definitely supernatural. That feels somewhat supernatural, doesn't it? Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, you kept thinking it was sort of like there isn't. Yes, but there was a presence. This presence would come upon them, except for when people kept getting hit by buses.
Yeah.
If it was either a weird spooky blackness presence would arrive, and or a bus or a train would get you.
Yeah, it was. They would often see a reflection behind. They'd look in a reflection like a kettle or a mirror, and they would see almost like a dark cloud forming behind them, and then we would as the audience would see some kind of vision of what it was going to be like. Either there's a train coming or a bus or whatever. Yeah. So were you not a huge fan of the only villain is death type thing?
No, not necessarily. I would have liked to have known more about the plan. I would have loved to have seen a cut to a villain's lair, even if that villain is just like smoke, being like, "What are we gonna do next, boss?"
Villain is just a big person in a cloud of smoke. Like,
hey, work for Lost. Was a smoke monster. Who's next? Well, let's look at the schematic. Actually, it would have been the teacher next, so how are we going to do it? Exploding computer monitor garrots her neck, and then she dies in flames and a bunch of more knives? Let's do that. Isn't that overcomplicated? Nah, boss. Nah, it's going to be great.
Can I just say, with the computer monitor one, what happens is that vodka goes on the computer monitor.
Sure.
And that wouldn't happen. Yeah. Vodka would just evaporate. It wouldn't.
It would just evaporate, right?
Yeah, that's not accurate. But anyway.
The best bit about that was she was like, let's make tea. Oh, I'm too scared for tea. I guess I'll have vodka instead. Yeah. But then the mug cracks. And it's literally
not
spewing
how
vodka
crack.
And she doesn't.
It's right. Like she's holding the mug and then a vertical line appears halfway down to the bottom. Like that's not how it works. Sorry.
And I know she's stressed out because of like all the death and all the students, which is super sad, by the way. Sorry, side note. An airplane full of students explodes on their way onto a French exchange trip, and they all died. So I get you're really stressed out, but like, dude, do you not know?
I get
like,
it.
I get it.
Right. That's okay that you're feeling bad about that. Like, we understand.
I can validate those feelings. Yeah. But so much liquid was spilling out of that mug. You telling me you wouldn't notice it? It was a trail of liquid. I can't handle that.
It's messy. That is really messy. Like,
well, it gets even messier in her house, you know?
Yeah, then there's blood everywhere.
On the whole, I actually liked the concept of like, you know, an unseen villain, because for me it tapped into that thing. I think the whole point was like, you can die by accident any time of day.
Yeah.
Like that could happen, and that freaks me out so much. It's why I couldn't watch the TV show Dead Like Me. Did you ever watch that?
No.
She's really scared. Just lots of like accidental. That always freaks me out, you know. And then also it's like you can die by accident, but guess what? It's on purpose. Because death's come and get you.
Yes.
So it tapped into a real fear of mine, which is the reality that death is imminent and upon us.
So did you feel scared whilst watching it? Did it make you scared?
The thing is, the movie itself did not scare me. The deaths did not scare me. I thought they were gory and hilarious and ridiculous. Okay. However, it did remind me that death is for real, and that was scary.
Memento mori. Yeah. Well, that's. I think that's probably a compliment to the film then, that you were able to enjoy it, but also feel. Yeah. You know, it tapped into a real fear for you.
Did you get scared?
I didn't have the same response of feeling scared about death. I would say like there were points where I certainly looked away. Like some of the gory bits. I think the thing for me is I have a very visual memory, and I know. You know, like when the guy gets his head sliced off, I'm like, I know my brain's going to replay that for me, so I'm just not going to look at it. I'm cool.
You mean when Stifler from American Pie?
Oh yeah, Sean William Scott. Yeah, he was weird in this film. He was very tame. It was odd to see him. I guess he hadn't done American Pie yet, right? So,
no, because American Pie was from the 90s.
Oh, of course it was. Yeah.
This is post. We're in a post Stifler.
Well, he could have. They could have filmed it around a similar time.
American Pie came out in 99.
Yeah, this is only a year later, so yeah, I don't know.
Big time for Sean William Scott. He was blowing up.
Yes.
Slicing in half.
Ironic. Yeah, so I don't know. And I think there's a very specific reason why I didn't kind of find it that actually scary, and it didn't summon the deepest human fear, the fear of death in me. And I'll tell you why.
Was it because it was kind of silly?
Well, that definitely was part of it. And I think I really enjoyed the filmmaking. I think the cinematography was great. In a previous episode of the podcast, I can't remember which one it was. I think it might have been when we were talking about Scream, and we were talking about the way that the killer is shot in Scream.
Yes.
Which I mean, photographed shot in Scream. Yeah. I think it was that episode, and I remember saying something about, he's portrayed just in broad daylight, and it's all quite straightforward, and I think you could shoot it in a creepier way, because the way you present something in film has as much power to generate fear as the thing itself. And then we talked about in I Know What You Did Last Summer, there's that scene with the car, and I think that the car is shot in a really good scary way. And with the film Christine from the 80s, which is about a spooky possessed car, that's a lot built up with the way that the car is shot. So I think this film actually does a really good job of making ordinary things seem scary just through shooting them a certain way. Like the plane, for example. The shot of the plane is really good. It's it's sort of emerging from the darkness, and it's got the windows are blacked out, so it looks like it has these black soulless eyes, and so it builds tension and it builds fear very, very well, and I think I was enjoying that a lot. And and yeah, I watched it with my partner. We were both like screaming and clapping and having a great time. It's like, what's it called, like a popcorn spiller or something.
Yeah,
very much that. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. But I think the very specific thing about this, which I think might be quite specific to me, and content warning, I'm going to just talk about mental health for a little bit. This film is a very accurate depiction of what it's like to have an anxiety disorder.
Okay.
Because, like, in a very camp, over the top way. But I really could relate to the experience of seeing danger everywhere, feeling like there's a force working against you. Every time that dark cloud appeared, I was like, yep, that's exactly what it feels like when I start feeling anxious and panicky and I feel like something terrible is going to happen. Like that that sort of unidentifiable feeling of doom. And, you look at the knives and is it the knives that's going to get me? Is it the kettle that's going to get me? Like, that's what it's like. It's very similar. And particularly the bit where Alex is in the shed and he's like putting corks on all the nails and he's taping everything up to sort of protect himself. I was like, pretty much, that looks quite a lot like an experience of like mental illness and yeah, it's just so I think for me I was reading it more as like, yeah, I know what this is like, and how you can feel that sense and that fear of death. I'm just very used to that feeling, I guess. In the same way that didn't kind of summon up on me and kind of generate panic, I'm like, this is cool, I know this feeling, I'm fine with this now. I've done enough therapy to be cool with it, and I know that's such a me reaction to have to flipping Final Destination, but that's who I am, that's why I'm here, to read into things too much and be far too analytical about stuff.
Fair enough. It's funny, I was so I've seen this movie twice. The first time I saw it was I don't know why. Okay, so sometimes you look back and you go, "Why did I do that?" But but when you're in it, you don't think twice. When I first watched this movie, it was my senior year in high school. Okay, which was it was either the fall of 2000, the year 2000, it was the spring of 2001. Hang on. Get off the couch. No! Scratching the couch. The only other time I've ever seen this movie was my senior year of high school, and I was working in the video store, and it was the day before I went with my class on a class trip to France.
Oh my gosh.
Okay?
The day before. And for some reason, dude,
I decided to rent, because I got free rentals, don't want to brag, but I could watch whatever movie I wanted. I rented a bunch of movies about airplanes. Right?
Did you watch Airplane?
And I think I rented Airplane.
Hell yeah.
Yes. But I remember watching this movie, and when the first 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, they're going to France too. That's fun. Oh, the plane exploded. That's not fun.
Oh, gosh.
Why did I do that? And then I got up the next day and I was like, this is funny. I watched a movie about a bunch of kids going on a high school trip who all exploded in a plane crash.
This explains so much.
This is my origin story. But spoiler alert, the plane did not crash. And I got to go to France, try to speak French, got to drink a lot of beer. It was awesome.
Nice.
That's
some...
The teachers knew and they were just like, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. It's legal. So why are you going to stop me?
What are you going to stop me? Not breaking the law.
Yeah, not breaking the law. That's wow. I would struggle with that if I had done that when I was younger, because
well, you're smarter than me. You wouldn't have done that.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't.
No. What's the best film to watch before you go to a French exchange trip?
Probably Amelie.
But, I don't think that movie had come out yet.
No, probably not.
That's what I would have watched.
Chocolat. I think Chocolat would have
come. Ooh, yeah. Chocolat.
I love that film.
Or like, you know what else would be a good one? Forget Paris. Do you ever see that?
Yeah. Or Midnight in Paris.
Billy Crystal. Oh,
Great
I'd
film.
watch Midnight. Yeah, but this is 2000.
I know,
None of this stuff
sorry,
existed
none of
yet.
my references
All
are relevant.
All you could do was watch either Forget Paris with Billy Crystal or watch Final Destination. So that's what I watched.
The
And I
only
like, I haven't-
representation of French media in American cinema in year 2000 was the film Final Destination.
And like, but I haven't watched that movie since because I remember being really freaked out by it. And I watched it yesterday and I was like, it's less scary. I'm more sad about death because I'm older. But on the whole, I just enjoyed it. I thought it was funny.
Yes.
Like, like every time somebody died in this movie, it was over the top, completely, like it was a Rube Goldberg situation. And I found it really enjoyable. But either that or Hit by a Bus, which like, how many times have we seen this in a movie where somebody backs up into the street?
Well, yes, recently we saw it in Mean Girls, and I do think that is actually probably kind of a reference to Final Destination. Surely it's so similar.
I wonder if it is.
I think that that I was reflecting on how similar the sort of structure of those build-ups is to comedy, because in a comedy scenario, like in a slapstick scenario, what you would have is, you know, something's going to happen, it builds, it nearly happens, and then it's subverted and actually something much more ridiculous and unexpected happens. And you get this, well, it's like it's called pathos and bathos, isn't it, which you get this build up and then this release. And this is so similar in the sense that, like, particularly the scene where it's the teacher and she's wandering around her kitchen looking at all of these dangerous things and interacting with all these dangerous things. And you know that Alex is running, going, "It's you're next, ah!" There's just, you're like, what's it going to be? And then it's like, the punchline is that it's something totally unexpected. Like, oh, it's that the computer monitor smashes and slices her in the throat, and then the knives come into play, and then the liquid comes into play, and you're going, no, I was literally going, oh no, not the knives, not the kettle, oh, now she slipped, oh god, no, you know, like, it's just, and it just goes on and on and on. But I think this film did it really well. It did it in a really entertaining way. Other films that we've seen, and I guess I'm thinking about Idle Hands, didn't get anywhere near that clever level of, it's like it's almost like how you control the audience's attention and their suspense is so important, and I think that's kind of the key thing with this movie, is how it plays with what's gonna happen. And I do think that not having a villain and just having, you know, it's that thing of fear, is the only thing you should fear is fear itself. People get more and more panicky and more scared over time, particularly at the start when he's that very first opening scene where he's in his bedroom and he's like, "Don't take the tag off my bag because that flight didn't crash, so this next one will crash." And he starts going, "Ugh," and his dad says something like, "You've got your whole life ahead of you," and he's like, "Oh," and it's that sort of teaches you as a viewer at the start, you've got to start looking out for things, and you've got to read into everything because it could be anything, which, I said, is very similar to the mindset of an anxious person. But so you're from the start, you're looking out for what's it going to be, you know?
I'm gonna send you a video that I just found on the internet. I don't know if you want this or not, but it's now in your message receiver.
Thank you.
This is an over 12-minute supercut of every time somebody gets hit by a bus in a movie.
Oh my gosh.
It happens all the time.
Wow. That's fantastic. I bet I could probably guess a couple of those movies as well.
Well, yeah, I just realized I've seen a lot of these.
Yeah. I think that the fun thing about being hit by a bus in a film is that the buses are always going really, really fast.
Totally.
And it's like, intrinsically, buses don't do that.
They go so
slow. Like,
they go so slowly.
Yeah, it's like, if I think about the buses and the potential risk that they pose to my life. I mean, obviously the ironic thing now is that this is what's going to happen to me, isn't it? But
just don't walk blindly into the road, and you'll be fine. Don't
walk out into the road talking, then someone calls your name and you turn around and look at them and then the bus hits you.
Right. It's the same. So I'm watching this hypercut. It's the exact same thing every time. They're having a very important conversation, either anger or like love conversation. Somebody walks into the road.
Anger or love conversation.
It's like one of the two. It's an anger conversation or a love conversation, you know?
Yeah. And
the difference is most of the time, actually, interestingly, they're just sort of quick and then it happens. The only one I've seen with blood so far is what we just watched.
Well, I suppose that's another good thing about it as a movie death, is it's bloodless. You just go boom, and then they're just deleted, aren't they? The person is just deleted from existence.
You have been surgically removed.
Yes, and then all you need to know is that the bus is then passed and the person is no longer there, and it's like, yep, they've blinked out of existence, and that's fine.
That one was a car. That's not a bus.
No, it's a small bus.
That was another car. This list is getting ridiculous. Anyway,
I think that one is certainly quite disappointing, but it is very funny. Like, I think it's very funny the way it happens, because she stood there in the road and I literally, like, seconds before it happened, I went boom, and then it happened. I was like, yeah, she's any second out. There it is. Hey, it happens. Because sometimes, again, if we're talking about like the pattern of how your anticipation works, sometimes you need to have it confirmed so that it doesn't get boring and you go, oh, I don't know what to expect, because so that was really good. Do you want to know a fun little detail that my partner pointed out to me, who it turns out is a really big fan of this movie?
No, I'm not surprised by that. Yeah, sure.
When they're in the airport at the start of the film and they're all sitting around discussing, I think this is during and then just after when the plane blows up. There are a bunch of photos on the wall, like large photos. And they're slightly out of focus, so you can't really look at them, and they are all kind of quite abstract, like old photos that are, I wouldn't have paid any attention to and just look like generic random airport photos. But those photos are actually images that tell you how each person is going to die. So there's so there's like a picture of a bathtub, there's a picture of a bus. I think the other one that we noticed is there's a picture of a car, and it's crazy. It's what? Even with the girl, I think her name is Terry, the one who gets hit by a bus. There's literally a shot of her standing next to the big photo of the bus. So it's almost like here she is next to a picture of how she's gonna die. Isn't that great?
Great.
Yeah,
that's great. Easter eggs.
It's quite. My only thought on that is it is very subtle, and I would have liked to have done that a bit more obviously, so I could feel smart and having noticed it, because I didn't notice it at all. But yeah, I thought it was quite fun.
Sometimes little references are the best ones, where only like 5 people get it, but the people who do are like, see, remember the tiny.
I just love stuff like that in films as well, like with little hidden things like that. But what's quite funny is that something like that's quite a clever thing to do. I mean, I don't know if you could get away with doing that now because of #streaming. Everyone would pause it, people would notice it. But you keep looking around suspiciously, like there's something going. Is there someone?
I can feel that. I saw a reflection of a bus in the window, and I thought
a bus is going to drive down your very tiny and very vertical street and
get me.
So there's sometimes they do, like when you do clever things like, hiding abstract photos in the background. That's cool. Some of it was just absolutely hilariously ridiculous. Like one of my favorite bits is when he's holding a magazine and he's reading about the main character is holding a magazine. He's reading about the incident. And then there's this fan that they keep cutting back to. Oh, and this is also good. They use this growling sound to tell you about the death figure as well. So they use wind, they use the dark cloud, they use the growling. So and this song as well that keeps coming.
The John Denver song.
Yeah, which is very clever to use all those indicators.
Yeah.
And again, similar to, you remember we talked about Scream. I was talking about how they use the flicking gesture with the knife to tell you it's the real scream. Like just using little indicators like that to psychologically indicate things is a very, very cool thing, and I always like seeing that, like motifs, I guess. But yeah, so starts happening, and then the magazine flies into the fan, gets torn up into lots of little pieces, and then the word "today" is ripped up to just say Todd. And then the little piece of paper that just says Todd lands in his lap, and he goes, "Oh no, Todd's next."
Todd, no.
It's so good. Because I think that you could, if I really wanted to pull it apart, you could say that's a bit of a flaw, which is that he starts having visions of what's going to happen. The first time he has a vision, it's a very extended, very detailed, very real, literally play-by-play of what would happen if the plane blew up. But then the next time, it's that he just sees one single thing in a reflection. Then he's the silly thing with the paper, and then after that, he stops having the vision so much he just sort of figures it out. So him being able to predict the future, I mean, it's not explained, which I'm personally okay with, but I'm sure that could be annoying that it's never addressed why he specifically gets the visions, but they're not very consistent with the visions, and it feels like that's more to suit the movie making than to suit the story. Right. So
also the Todd one, it was like, by the way, he's already dead.
Was he literally already dead at this point? Probably. Yeah.
Todd's already dead.
Yeah.
He gets the piece of paper and goes, "Oh no, Todd, I gotta go to Todd's house." Cut to Todd's dead. Cut to Devon Sawa's character's outside going, "What happened to Todd? He's already dead. Thanks a lot, Spirit.
How do you know? Oh, this piece of paper told me."
Right? Whereas at the very least, the bus and the train was like, "Damn, I saw a bus and a train."
Yeah. Yeah.
So, inconsistent.
And did he see, I can't remember, did he see anything for the teacher?
No, he's just worried that the teacher was going to die based on the schematic. He just knew she was next.
He knew she was next. I don't think he actually saw anything. And then he goes, "Well, I have to see it." And I'm like, "Well, you didn't intentionally see it at any point. It just sort of came to you. So how can you choose to?"
Yeah, that's a good point. Why is he endowed with the spirit of being able to see dead people?
See, I said that. I knew that was going to annoy you, and you said it didn't. I was like, I know it does. I know it does annoy you.
There's no rhyme or reason. He needs an origin story. He needs to have opened like a bad can of tuna
like
or
Idle
something.
Hands. I need to re-listen to the episode, but I'm pretty sure in Idle Hands we were like, there's no explanation as to why these hands are cursed. They're just some magic evil hands turn up, and then it goes into, I think, Devon Sawa or somebody gets them. Why are there bad hands? Where did they come from?
Because they were slackers.
Where did they go?
Because the devil was like, devil's plaything. You're slackers. Yeah. They were slackers who smoked weed and did nothing, so of course they had killer hands.
Yeah.
In this movie, Devon Sawa is scared of planes, so he gets endowed with the power to see that the plane's going to crash.
Again, he just has anxiety. He just needs to go and see a therapist, and everything will be fine. We wouldn't need this movie. His final destination, the therapist office,
and then CVS to pick up his prescription.
Yes, exactly, and then you'll be fine. Trust me, it'll be all good.
I'm still watching supercuts of people getting hit by buses.
I think that's potentially in the movie of this. That's not a good sign.
No.
That you're so fascinated by it.
I'm 10 minutes in and it's the same thing every single time. There's always somebody that is on the sidelines going, "No! And
no, about to get hit by a bus!
No! What did you say?
What was that? Did you say whipped by a floss?
I can't hear you. You're too far away. What did you say about the bus?
Say it more slowly. Did you say... So you said I should walk like a bus? No, you're going to get hit by...
It's too late. The road for no reason, and then an old lady hits him with a car. Oh, that's Better Call. That's
that would be a funny joke if you think someone's about to get hit by a bus and then they don't, and then somebody just runs up and just stabs them. You're like, oh my god, imagine if I got hit by a bus right now. Oh, thank god I didn't get hit by the bus. And then somebody stab. Oh, whoops.
Whoops, indeed. Right, yeah. let's twist this thing.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
Wait, watch out for the boat!
No!
if you'd like to know your final destination, it's actually on the internet, where most of us spend a lot of our time. Why not spend some of your time productively learning more about the world of movies with us over at Plot Twisters Pod on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, where we post upcoming movies and other fun stuff.
Right. So do we need to give this kid an origin story to start with? Is that, I
think that prequel could be a good way to go, because I feel like sequels been covered by the 6 sequels that actually exist. And I don't know.
Yeah.
So I know that there's a thing with logs on a lorry, and I thought that was in this one, but apparently that, according to my partner who's seen all of them, it's actually in 2. So we can't do that because they did that.
No. So you're talking about making a prequel to Final Destination, adding to the whole canon, the whole Final Destination verse.
Yeah.
And in this one, this is where he gets the power.
Let's explore your childhood, Alex, and understand why you think everything is out to get you and why you feel so worried all the time.
Well, all right, so what are some reasons that, if we accept that death actually is out to get him, okay? Because it is, or was, does Devin Sawa's character make it through all the Final Destinations?
I have no idea.
I'd really like to know how far through the gauntlet he goes.
Well,
He must be in the
what I'm
second
going to do
one.
is, I'm not going to look too far into this because it's not fun to listen to somebody Googling things, but I'm going to just click on Final Destination 2 and I'm going to see if he's in the cast list. And if he's not, then we'll assume he is not, as far as I can see. Ali Larter is.
Okay.
And that looks like it.
It's not even there. Second movie gone.
Wow, I wonder why not.
Well, at the end of this movie, he maybe got hit by a bus in Paris. Remember?
Oh, yeah. But maybe it was the other guy.
After the mean guy got hit by a falling sign.
Yeah. No, that's actually kind of a surprising decision. Like, he was very much pitched as the main character in this one.
He was.
But yeah, Ali Larter's back, so good on her.
But so maybe there has to be a reason that this kid did he sign a deal with the devil? Did he make somebody angry by building a house on a burial ground or something, or playing with toys on it? He must have disrupted the Force at some point when he was a child and he didn't know about it, and his comeuppance have been en route for a while. Yes.
Well, maybe. I don't know if it's because I think part of the thing is, it's not that he's being morally punished. It's more just it's more just, this is the way things are. And if you disrupt the way things are, then you deserve punishment. So his if he has any kind of punishment, it's because he had a vision and didn't die, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if it's that he did a bad thing. It's that he cheated to death. So maybe we could make it so that it's focused on, if we're thinking of death as a character, or rather, it's more like misfortune as a character. Death and misfortune are like the two forces, right? So how could we establish a relationship in which he is already cheating death and already forming this vision of himself, already forming this skill of seeing,
cheating it.
He has this insight into what's happening. So rather than him being like doing something evil, he's doing something good to earn this skill.
Well, maybe he's got like a vision. Maybe he's a little kid. Maybe he's like a teenager, younger teenager than he was in this movie, and he just has this sort of like ability to not see big death things, but to see like
little things
that little tiny little whoopsies,
Yeah.
And he just sort of
sees accidents.
And he just sort of prevents them from happening, all the time.
Or what if it's like it's kind of forming in my brain. I'm just really trying to dig it out here.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like it's like he has a twin brother, and the twin brother dies instead of him. or something
yeah.
like that, you know, or like when he's young, he does some, it's like butterfly effect. He does some tiny little thing that starts to set into motion and almost like creates this rip through the veil of life and death. And like you say, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger over time. So it starts really tiny. So maybe it's really something as simple as we see this little kid and he's out playing in the forest, and we see this twig or this log is about to fall on his head, and then at the last second, inexplicably, he decides not to not to climb the tree.
Yeah.
And then the tree falls, and then he's okay. And then he's like, huh, that's weird. I could have just died. And it's almost like that moment that a child first realizes that threat is a real thing.
Maybe if like, I mean, I'm thinking there's this thing where it's like it's a little hazy, but the more times he's near a near accident thing, it gets clearer and clearer.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, he realizes the skill is growing, so he puts himself in more and more dangerous positions, so that he can strengthen it.
Yes.
You know, and then maybe it becomes too strong, and he can see like till the end of time or whatever.
Yeah,
and so he decides he needs to dial it back. Somehow, and that I was gonna say maybe like he just starts like he's a teenager, so he starts like token the reefer a lot, you know. Because in this scenario, drugs are the
great way
answer.
to manage anxiety.
Right.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. And it's 420 all the time. He's puffing that good stuff, and then he can't see visions at all. And then he's like, "Oh no, the weed took my thing away completely." It's harsh to me too much.
Yeah, or you could say like, well, obviously that's a great solution, but thinking of one without drugs, it would be like he starts to get quite obsessive over it. And I'm thinking about, was it Hackers, where there's a kid who, it's a kid who has a bit of a gift and it's hacking, and then he has to grow up too quickly because he gets arrested or whatever it is, right? So maybe it's similar in that this young child is wise oh my gosh, I'm getting so excited. Wise beyond his years, and is so focused on this idea of death and life and his own ability to control and predict things, and he's constantly living in the future, and he's kind of going, but this could cause this, and this could cause this, and his parents are like, Alex, like, are you okay? And he's like, cool, yeah, you can't go on that road trip. We can't go on that road trip to visit grandma tomorrow because it's there's actually a really big storm coming in, and even though it's a stay over, that could cause a ripple effect, which could cause this to happen, and people could be moving because of the storm, and then they could cause this, blah 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 blah. And they're like, okay, honey, we really need to take him to see someone. Yeah. And then he goes to see the therapist, and the therapist is like, why are you always worrying about everything? And he goes, I'm not worried about it. I just can see the future.
What's going to happen?
And the therapist is like, okay. And then in front of the therapist, he predicts the future. He says, that tree outside's going to fall over. And the therapist is like, yeah, sure, Alex. And then it does. And he's like, wait, what?
Yeah. And then he turns on the radio and he tells him exactly who's going to win in the basketball game. Yeah. Turns to the page in the sports almanac where it's going to happen. And that's how he discovers that he actually can time travel. The other joke I was going to make is then they put him into a pool and then they strap a bunch of stuff to him and he becomes part of an elite future crime unit where he predicts crimes. Does he become a police officer? Is he one of the precogs? Because that's what this is.
That's why he's not in any of the next movies, because he's busy.
Because he becomes a precog.
Busy fighting crime.
Correct.
Yeah.
And he's hanging out in that jacuzzi with Tom Cruise.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say they strap a bunch of stuff to him, put him in a pool, and then he goes and fixes the hole that links the Upside Down to the real world and kills the Demogorgon, because that sounded like the reference you were going to make. Yeah.
Also good. There's so many directions you can go with somebody who can predict the future.
I think we don't have enough movies in which children can predict the future. So maybe the FBI has been onto him for a long time as well, and that's where they immediately turn up. Like they're like, know. Oh, they this know. Guy escaped from the plane, and then they're like, let's go and chat to him, and then they just bring out this huge file stuffed with things, you know.
And maybe there's like 10 kids in the world who were identified at a certain point that they could become the future predictors, but over time they've been eliminated for one reason or another, and this is
And they were
actually
all
the last
adopted by
one.
the same man who brings them all to live in an academy in New York, and he calls them the Umbrella Academy, and they all have numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or the Sparrows, depending on which,
Yeah.
universe you're in. But like,
this is
it's
the
all
problem
moot
with sci-fi. Everyone's already done everything. Leave something
all
for
been-
us, won't you, J.J. Abrams?
To quote the poets, the Bare Naked Ladies, or BNL. Woohoo hoo! It's all been done.
I
It's all been done
do think
before.
that is a good. I do think that is a good origin story, though. Like of him being a kid and like starting very minor and working his way up. I think that's good.
I like it. And then they through like medication and stuff, it's gone.
Yeah.
But then it comes back when he goes to Paris with his friends.
Or he forgets. He forgets that he used to do
Oh,
this thing
yeah.
with a kid.
Because it's like we all change. You know,
Yeah.
it's all fine. Yeah, exactly. The worst part about this movie, though, was the fact that a bunch of kids died, and then the remaining kids had intense survivor's guilt. Whilst, like, they all felt super weird about the fact that they didn't die in that plane crash.
Also,
That's very hard.
See the school had a memorial to the kids, and it was just like this massive eagle, and I was like, bit on the nose, isn't it?
Poor taste.
Poor taste.
Because they all died in the air, so
they
now
didn't
they
fly.
are all
They can't fly, and the eagle can't fly.
they're all eagle now.
Yeah, they're all of these 40 people. This one brown eagle. America.
Plus all the other people. I mean, let's not forget. Like, it's just not just that class. Like
206 people died, or whatever it was. Particularly these 40 kids.
This movie is about a plane crash. It's so upsetting. Right? Pre 9/11 though.
I know, weird.
9/11.
Just right. Weird. Very weird.
This would never make this movie again.
No. It did happen in Lost, which was after. Was it after? Wait. Ooh.
Lost was after.
Lost was
and
after,
yes,
right?
okay,
Yeah.
it did start out, but yeah, okay, they do make movies about plane crashes, but they don't make movies about a bunch of kids dying on a plane. Probably not.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's due to come back. I mean,
I think it's going to come back, and you and I are going to make that movie.
Yeah.
But not today, because today what we have to do is we have to rate this movie. Emma, I would love to know on a scale of 1 to 5. Well, I'll use the British version. Maltesers.
Yeah.
Spilled on an airplane floor. How many?
What's the
Maltesers
American
would you give
version?
This movie. Malt balls.
What?
They're called malt balls or whoppers.
Malt balls.
Malt balls.
Maltesers are called malt balls.
Malt balls. Yeah.
One more time?
There's a better name for them. Malt balls.
That sucks.
What is that? It sucks. Great. Hey, do you want some malt balls? Yeah, I love malt balls. They're
balls.
Great. And then the big ones are called whoppers. Not to be confused with the burger called a Whopper.
Big ones.
America's confusing.
Is that like a giant Malteser?
Yeah, it's like a big mouthful, and it's one big... I mean, they're not that big. They're like the size of a big marble.
That's cool. I mean, I'm interested in that, but malt balls I don't enjoy at all.
Malt balls.
That's another one that doesn't... Malt balls. Like, it doesn't work in my mouth. I will give this... I'm going to give it 3.5.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Because it was great fun. Really good fun. Enjoyed it. Had a good time.
Yeah.
I keep
ditto.
what's really annoying is I keep finding out that I really like horror films, and I've spent my whole life avoiding them. And like I really thought I was going to be too scared of this movie because I kind of knew what it was about, and I was like, nah, that's not for me. But it was fine. It's just they've just got to be old. That's the key thing.
Exactly.
They've just got to be from
They just have to have
10
aged.
plus years ago, and then it's fine.
Because they know how to get you now.
They know how to get you.
But they didn't know how to get you then.
I have this thing I probably shared before that of like I like to read the plots of horror films on Wikipedia because it's very neutral and safe. So I'll just read about it. I'll get curious. I'll read about it and then not watch it. I've read like flipping Hereditary and Midsummer. Horrendous.
Not watch it.
No, thank you.
Will not watch. Hard no, thanks.
I mean, I probably will eventually.
Well, give it 10 years,
Give it 10
and then
years
you
and
will
I
have
can.
changed, and then it'll be fine.
Yeah.
That's what we've learned. This is the lesson. This is the life hack. If you're scared of scary movies, watch old scary movies because they're not that scary, probably.
Yeah.
Although, I'm pretty sure the ones from the 70s and stuff were actually scary.
Halloween, the original Halloween.
You know?
Really scary.
You know? This movie was scary-ish, but actually it was just funny.
Mm.
You know? I remember thinking Scream was really scary, which it is because there's a lot of jump scares. but it's also just really funny and surprisingly a good movie. Like, and I agree with you. This movie was also like, it's pretty, like, it was shot well and it was fun.
Yeah.
You know, I liked it. I liked it so much more than when I watched it in high school before I got on a plane and flew to France.
Funny that.
It's interesting that. But yeah, I'm with you. 3.5. I think 3.5 is a good rating for this movie.
Nice.
So, but like the real thing we need to just really understand is, why don't you like the term malt ball?
But like, just feel it roll around your mouth. Malt balls.
I like how it makes malt balls. I like terms that make your mouth feel funny when you say them.
Malteser
you know what I mean?
has like it's like a little bit naughty. You know, it's like
Malteser because it's a bit of a tease. Is that
It's
what
a
it is? You
tease,
tease
yeah.
at me.
Malteser, malt ball, Malteser, malt balls.
Malt balls.
I'll do another poll on my Instagram.
You should. And what were the
Which do you prefer?
Maltesers or malt balls? Or do you like malt? Aren't malt balls like aren't they like a love-hate kind of a vibe? Isn't it a Marmite kind of a thing?
I think people pretty universally like Maltesers, but I could be wrong. I think they're very popular.
Yeah,
There was a very
it's so
successful
weird.
marketing campaign for them in the 2000s where they were really marketed as like a naughty but like good choice because they're only whatever calories. It's like, oh, only. And so they had this advert with the woman from IT Crowd on it where she's like, oh, I'm not being naughty because I'm just eating Maltesers, which as we know is terrible, and diet culture is worse, telling you that some foods are morally good and others morally bad. So that's obviously a load of bullshit. But but it was a very successful advertising campaign. So Maltesers so hot right now.
I love it when I mean, I hate it, but I love that there's a whole thing where it's like, hey, don't eat bad for you food. Eat this food that's also bad for you, but not as bad as the bad thing.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing.
It's nonsense. It's complete nonsense.
Have a sneaky little treat, like no one will know. It's like a breakfast bar.
Yeah,
but it's
there was
all
also
chocolate.
this Galaxy advert where this woman like hid her Galaxy from her roommate in her houses, and she's like, "Oh, they'll never find this one." She then neatly peels back the strip, takes one chunk of Galaxy, and then puts it back and
That's
hides
what
it.
people do.
No, first of all, nobody eats one flipping chunk of Galaxy, and second of all, if you're hiding confectionery from other people, that's disordered eating, and you need to address that. That's not okay.
Well, it's either you've something you need to talk about and you need to sort it out, or your roommate's a scumbag and you need to sort it out.
Why are
because
they
guess what?
judging
She's
you?
stealing from you, probably.
Why are they judging you or stealing your food? Yeah, either is bad.
Don't worry about the chocolate. Look for the 50 pounds.
The reality that was created by chocolate adverts in the 2000s was very poor.
Insane.
Very poor.
Insane.
And we're still
Insane.
healing from it.
She also stole your car and she hawked all your jewelry. But
You wouldn't steal a car. You wouldn't steal your roommate's chocolate.
Oh, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. That's very good stuff. And if you want more good stuff just like this, stay tuned because we're going to keep talking about chocolate. We're going to keep talking about adverts from the 2000s. We're going to keep talking about teen movies from that same era. Strap in, get ready because there's some crazy stuff yet to come. But for now, thank you for listening to this episode of Plot Twisters.
Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye. Gotta go get myself